Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of the Boxing Coalition. My name is Cam. Joining me tonight, Leon and Naota. I hope you guys are well. You know, the panel thins out when it's a quiet weekend. It's just the hardcores remain. So, props to us, and the other guys are just casuals, but
straight bums.
Straight bums. Leon, let's start in Canada.
Especially that one out in the fucking desert. He's the biggest bum of the lot.
No, man, that's my boy, man. Don't say that.
He's been fucking with me today, though, hasn't he?
I think he's doing it on purpose. He's just trying to wind you up.
I know. It fucking worked.
Leon, let's start with another of your favourite people, Adonis Stevenson.
Yes. The rematch no one wanted.
The rematch no one wanted, and I can't see you spending that much time on the fight because there wasn't really much to see apart from like a 2-round beatdown.
Yeah, he couldn't miss with that left hand, could he? And he looked good, to be fair, you know. He looked pretty sharp. He had no problem finding or landing on him, did he? Yeah, he beat the shit out of him, really. I mean,
went in there, didn't waste time.
No, exactly. He did exactly what he should have done to him, and you know, he looked good doing it. Whatever we say about him as a human being, you know, he's a monstrous puncher.
He is indeed.
And,
yeah.
But you know, that guy is just like he's obviously hasn't got much of a chin, has he? Or not? Maybe he's been knocked out by big punches, but he hasn't got the best resistance. I mean, he was getting ragdolled in that second round.
Well, a lot of it, I'd say, is the defense. You know, he hasn't. Yeah. It's like he puts his chin right there on a pedestal, like the way they stand so straight up and everything. So. Yeah,
I mean, Cleverly was
sitting duck.
Cleverly was, you know, landing punches on him in that was a great fight, but that is the level of fighter that he's at, you know, he's that kind of fringe, lower top 10 level kind of fighter, isn't he? And
yeah, if that.
Yeah, if that. And Adonis obviously learnt from the first fight and just thought, you know, I'm just going to smash him early on in the first fight. I'm going to go out there and smash him again, rather than taking my time.
He did say before that he had a hand injury quite early on in the first fight, whether he did or not, but he kind of sealed the deal.
Doesn't matter now. He exactly sealed the deal now, didn't he?
Yeah. But Naota, you got anything to add?
I mean, I really didn't like this fight to begin with. I mean, even when they were talking about it before, Fonfara got wrecked by Joe Smith. But after that, like, to me, it was pretty much pointless. It's like, you basically lost the shot right then and there, regardless of what happened with Chad Dawson. You know, the fact that he was losing until he finally stopped him. But I mean, yeah, like Stevenson looked really good. You know, I still think that he is, you know, hell on wheels for anybody that steps into the ring with him. You know, I think the Ward Kovalev winner really should be mandated to fight him by everybody in the sport of boxing, everybody that's critical of the fighters and such. But I'm not necessarily sure if that's going to take place, unfortunately. But I mean, he's a dangerous fighter. Went in there and laid waste to Fonfara the way that somebody like him should be doing. And I mean, that's really all you can say about the performance, really. I mean,
because it was very similar to, you know, all of his performances, very left hand dependent. But you know, I mean,
the thing is,
he was landing at will.
You could definitely tell that his timing has gotten better. Like even just since their first fight, everything is a little bit sharper than it used to be. You know, even though he's a older guy, 39.
He's got quicker.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just that I think he's really kind of coming into his own and combining his like natural ability with a bit more boxing IQ that he didn't necessarily have because he lacked the experience. So it's almost like Sergio Martinez like a few years ago, where it's like, yeah, I mean, he was older, but he wasn't slowing down because he didn't really have a lot of wear and tear up tough fights and such. But he was also being able to combine the extra experience that he was gaining with each preceding fight, and adding that to his repertoire with the agility and athleticism, the explosiveness, etc. So, you know, he's a better fighter now than he was before.
Regarding his post-fight with Jim Correa, I just find it disappointing that, you know, a lot of other PBC boxers have started mentioning names in post-fight interviews, but he's like continuously just speak to Al Heyman, whoever Al Heyman puts in front of me. Like the dude, like I was a big fan, man. You know, when he had that year when he just had 4 great fights and 4 good performances, and then after that, the level of opponents, like maybe the first Fonfara fight, his performance itself, I don't know. It's a shame, man. Like there's good fights to be made in light heavyweight. Yeah, it is a kind of top heavy, but there's up and coming guys. Bivol and Beterbiev's not really got a shot at someone big yet, and it's just
that division's got deep, Cam. It's deep now.
Yeah, no, actually, you're right. I take that back. It has got deeper. Like even Joe Smith.
Who's that Ukrainian guy?
Vozdik.
Yeah, he's good, isn't it?
Yeah. Joe Smith's still there.
Joe Smith. I mean, I didn't see the Alvarez versus Pascal fight, but hadn't he been his mandatory for
like
the last couple of
almost 2 years?
Yeah.
Since 1979.
And I'm not saying I'm not saying that Stevenson doesn't ice him, but I'd rather see him ice him than ice.
Well, that's interesting because we're going to get into that fight. I don't know if you did not catch that
I
fight.
didn't see it.
We'll get into that, but I actually think Alvarez beat Stevenson, but I'll talk about that if you've finished with Stevenson, unless you guys got anything else.
I've got one thing I wanted to touch on. You see the end of the second round?
Yep.
When they were trading right on the bell?
Oh, yeah.
What did the referee do? Where was he? Right there. Fucking threw himself in the middle of them while punches were being thrown.
Well, at the end of the first, you mean? Because obviously it didn't...
It was the end of the first, sorry.
It didn't go past two, yeah.
He put himself in there. He was right on them. As soon as that bell went, he was straight in there. That's how you stop a fight. And that's how people don't get disqualified.
Stop a round, you mean?
Stop a round. That's how you jump in and call the end of a round, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was the perfect example of it. That didn't happen.
Just yelling,
team.
stop! And standing 20 feet away from the...
Exactly.
Tapping him on the shoulders.
And we'll come to the Russian hammer, because no one got disqualified when those fuckers went to war, did they?
For like 10 seconds after the bell.
I counted it at 18 seconds, but I might have had it wrong.
Seriously, I didn't count it, but it did seem quite.
But maybe
time.
I was wrong. Maybe it was like 15. It was long, but we'll come to that later. But that's how you do your job, and then people don't have to roll around and pretend they're, you know what I'm saying.
He was the ref that he was that Canadian dude, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just good refereeing, Cool. And what do we think? Do you think Virgil? Yeah, he had no other choice, did he?
I think
he would get lit up.
I think he would have got really hit.
Yeah.
I think it was early, but he saved him. It was early, but he had the right to do it. I think because he was getting punched across the ring, wasn't he? Almost.
Yeah, and he looked like shit as he was rising to his feet too.
Yeah, he did.
But
that's me done, Cam. You can go hit that other fight.
Yeah. So Naota Pascal versus Alvarez. Your thoughts on that fight on the undercard?
Early on it looked like Alvarez was going to be able to do like a Bude Part 2. It's like he was hitting Pascal with clean, hard shots and rocking him, just rocking the shit out of him. But it's almost like he kind of stepped off the gas a little bit, went into cruise control mode, and Pascal was almost like more looking to survive the fight rather than looking to win the fight. And so that kind of set up a bit of like more of like a slow pace throughout like the middle and the later rounds and such. And, from that point, Alvarez pretty much just outboxed him. Pascal landed a couple of good shots of his own, especially because of the fact that I think they throw punches at at very similar angles. Like if you just watch them, they're almost like mirror images of each other in terms of style. So that actually, I think, kind of worked to Pascal's benefit because it was easier for him to either brace for some of the shots or be able to catch Alvarez at certain times. But even when he caught Alvarez was able to pretty much take the punch. He has a pretty solid chin. And, every time he was able to really catch Pascal clean, he hurt him. He's a hard puncher, not necessarily like an outright knockout artist. I mean, you could see that from the number of knockouts that he's had and the fact that up until the Bude fight, he had a lot of decisions under his belt. He's not like a guy that really goes searching for it. He's more of like a boxer puncher. But I mean, he's a skilled boxer overall. He has a really sharp jab, when he decides to utilize it heavy. And I think that's pretty much what won him the fight here against Pascal. He pretty much just dominated him with the jab. I don't know what the fuck that judge, let's go to 114 was doing. That, that guy probably has all of John Pascal's merchandise or something. Because this fight wasn't anywhere near that close. I thought Alvarez won it pretty handily.
I think that judge needs to be willing to take the test.
Yeah, he does. He was probably on all kinds of drugs in order to see that fight.
All kind of
Pascal.
shit. Yeah, it's interesting because you sent me a message over the weekend and you said it kind of started off well, but both guys kind of looking to survive. So I went into the fight with kind of low expectations, thinking it's not going to be that good. But I found it okay. There were rounds towards the end where both guys were throwing and engaging. They weren't really landing that often, especially Pascal. He's never really had the greatest balance, and he kind of throws while he's off balance, and he doesn't always land on the target, and the punches come from really weird angles. But I thought Alvarez at points was amazing. There were mid rounds where he fucking just schooled him with the jab, man. The jab was just sharp. It was double, tripled. It was just rocking Pascal's head back. And as I said just when we were talking about Stevenson, I actually think that either Alvarez would give Stevenson a really tough time / possibly beat him. I think if he can take Stevenson into the later rounds, because Stevenson, as much as I like him, he is a bit of a one-trick pony, man. Everything's that left hand. The jab's kind of poor. Sometimes he'll put it to the stomach, just trying to set up that left hand to the head. His right hook isn't really a major asset to him. It's all kind of left hand, and if you can take that away from him, just box him with the jab, and he has got that range, Alvarez. So maybe that's the reason why he's kept giving step aside money, and he's just constantly being, interim or silver or whatever bullshit WBC have, and he's just been mandatory but not really got the shot. But it's good to see that he's still been fighting and still is willing to, put that mandatory spot on the line. And I didn't really think Pascal would beat him.
Yeah, sure. A lot of fighters just sit on that.
Exactly. They'll wait and wait and wait, and then by the time they've got the shot, they've just got so much ring rust. So, yeah, man, I was really impressed with his performance. I have thought Pascal has, been declining for a number of years. So the fact that he beat him, I'm not giving him loads of props, but he did beat him quite convincingly. And it was a shame because Paulie was saying in the commentary that he looked like he was in there to survive. He was kind of doing nothing for like 2.5 minutes, and then he'll try and throw some flurries and, kind of try and win the round at the end. And I hate those type of tactics, man. It's like a boxing fight is 12 rounds, and you need to compete throughout of it. Don't just try and like nick rounds and shit. But another thing I need to shit on is, I mentioned it last week, but my boy Mr. Fix was saying as well, we pay a lot for our subscriptions, Leon. It's a shame that Sky didn't really pick it up, or I know Box Nation have given us a lot of content, but it was a kind of a biggish fight, so it's a shame no UK broadcaster bought the rights.
Well, shouldn't Box Nation have been? This is a Box Nation fight, isn't it? Really?
It really.
It feels like that to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, maybe that BT thing is swaying some of their budget. Like having to put more money. Even though they're getting that BT money, maybe they're still having to put more of their money into the UK fights.
Possibly.
That's all I can think. And maybe they just think it wasn't a very meaningful thing because they didn't. If they got Ward Kovalev, maybe they do it. But so maybe it's on Sky.
I think it was a pretty decent 2-fight card, really. Like
big
I think
names.
So. Yeah, it's a shame. But Neil, anything more on the Pascal Alvarez fight?
No, I mean, it sounded like they may do the Stevenson Alvarez fight later this year, because that's what they were hinting at in the commentary, I guess, that Alvarez in theory could be fighting, like this could be like his potential breakout year with fighting Boudet, then Pascal, then Stevenson. But I mean, if it happens, I'm happy for that. It's a good fight to be made, and I mean, I'm in somewhat of agreement with you. I'm not sure if I favor Alvarez to beat Stevenson, but I think he'll definitely give him a pretty difficult fight, especially like in a tactical fashion, and I think he'll definitely take him some rounds. And once it gets into those middle or later rounds, we'll see really what Stevenson's made out of. I think Alvarez lacks just a little bit of that extra something though, in order to actually to overcome and beat Stevenson though. Like it's like he's really well rounded, and he's really good enough to really make you look bad as well. But I'm not sure if he has that extra stuff.
It's like he's missing one thing
to overcome at the elite level.
Yeah, I think I said that a couple of years ago, that he was kind of pretty good at everything, but he's not special at one thing. But I don't know, maybe his jab has become that one thing. We'll wait and see.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm done on that. Should we move on?
Yeah, I'm good.
Leon, let's go over to Russia. A man you are very fond of, the Russian Hammer with those evil staring deathy looking
I
eyes,
think,
man.
I think Leon might have fallen off for a second.
No. I'm here.
Oh, there he
I
is.
was just googling something. Sorry.
You Googler.
Yeah, no. Go to Nelson. Sorry. Can I just finish this? Sorry.
No problem.
No, yeah, go ahead, man. Good fight. I mean, the first fight was an absolute banger between these two. You know, Durodola came in and stopped Kudryashov in the second round. This fight, I mean, Durodola definitely didn't waste time. He was trying to basically do it again, just overwhelm Kudryashov with all that volume, punches at all different angles. You know, especially in that first round, I thought Durodola was able to control things, but Kudryashov was finding a nice home for, especially the shots coming from like beneath, like uppercuts and hooks that were coming from like low to high. You know, like he would start to the body, then he'd rip it to the head, like a left hook to the body, then a left hook to the head, or sometimes he would like throw like the left uppercut or a right uppercut. As Durodola was kind of like leaning down into the shot, really like, you know, just well timed stuff from Kudryashov. I mean, Durodola was pretty much he had the volume, but Kudryashov I think had a little bit of the harder single shots. The second round was a real great round, back and forth. You know, just really went to war. It wasn't really until the third where it seemed like Kudryashov managed to get like a real like into a real rhythm where he started kind of controlling the pace a bit better, where he was able to really catch Durodola on the inside with those shots, and also being able to defend a little bit better against the shots that Durodola was landing on him. You know, and he eventually was able to drop him. What was that? I think in the fourth round. Yep. And then he finally stopped him in the fifth. And yeah, the stoppage. I mean, it was I think pretty good, well timed, just because Durodola by that time was kind of taking a bit of a beating. Yep. I would have liked to seen him like maybe get a few more seconds, but you know, I'm pretty brutal like that. Like until you're like laid out and laying down. You know, like I'm not the type to really be calling for a stoppage, but I mean, I could definitely. I don't really argue it with it too bad, especially in light of some of the recent stoppages that we've had. But I mean, hey, Kudryashov got his revenge, and he still got, if not a perfect record in terms of wins and losses, a perfect record in terms of all those being by knockout, both the wins and the losses. So, you know, he's the mandatory now they haven't ordered the mandatory, but whenever it comes, he's the mandatory for Brady's for the WBC.
That's a good
And
point.
I mean, I think he's just a hellacious fighter for anybody in that division. I mean, is he a bit defensively open and possibly a little bit chinny? Yeah, but he has a ton of power of his own. You know, he's one of those live by the sword, die by the sword, kill or be killed fighters. And if you don't knock him out, he's probably going to knock you out. Extremely dangerous.
Definitely. Really fun fight. I was just saying with Stevenson that he was very left-handed, and that makes sense with him being a southpaw. But with Kudryashov, I wouldn't be surprised if he is left-handed but fights from the orthodox stance, because everything is almost left hooks. I know he has got a decent right hand, but like you said, it's like left hook to the body, left hook to the head, a kind of left uppercut, screw shot. Yeah, the jab is okay. It's not the best, but yeah, that compared to the first fight, I mentioned it last week that, you know, he tried to do the stupid kind of shoulder roll, and Durodola was just catching him on top of the head and stuff. Where this time, I think his head movement was better, and just his overall, you know, hands up blocking shots with your arms and gloves was better. And Durodola didn't really catch him clean as much as he did obviously in the first fight. But I didn't really see points where he caught him clean that often. There were kind of flurries near the end of the round where Durodola did better, but he was kind of blocking, and not a lot of it was getting through. But that third round was pretty good, where he kind of threw that very wide looping left hook, and he caught Durodola in the button, and his gum shield basically went flying outside the ring. That was amazing. He stumbled back.
Yeah, that was a great shot. Yeah.
And that's when Leon was saying that the bell went, and like he was just kept throwing for like, it seemed like ages, but I'd probably say about 10 seconds. I didn't time it, but that was a fun round. And you're saying in the fourth, Kudryashov caught him with a kind of temple shot. He dropped him. He got up, recovered. And he did well for the remainder of the round. He kind of started to fire back and, you know, put some pressure on Kudryashov. But at the fifth, I don't know if there's a little technique that he was trying, but he was complaining about, I don't know, his shorts or something at the start of the fifth. I don't know if he was trying to catch extra breath or some shit. Some refs I could even see just stopping him, looking like he's trying to, like, you know, like fool him out and just try and get.
He was trying to steal some seconds, wasn't he?
I definitely
he was hurt.
Yeah. And yeah, he got that left hook on the face this time. Got up, kind of boxed a bit more, and then Kudryashov got him again with the left hook. That's when he stumbled back, and the ref jumped in. He looked like he was ready to continue and fight. And yeah, I'm kind of in the old. I think it was okay because he did start to take a bit of a beating, and I couldn't see him doing what he did in the first fight. I didn't see that turnaround happening. If anything, I just seen him getting laid out.
I just think that with the history of that fight, you could have let it go 10 seconds.
Possibly.
Just because that guy, he was there to fight. It wasn't like he was like in the thing where they ran over. It wasn't just him unloading. He started throwing back.
Yeah,
it wasn't
that's
just
true.
He wasn't completely. There's been some terrible stoppages. I think that was a bad stoppage, and we'll get to the other stoppage.
Yeah, it wasn't one-way traffic where it's like Durodola was just getting hit and then just trying to move around and not really doing it well enough, and not even throwing back or anything.
And if he had let them carry on 10 seconds, and that's what had started to happen, where he was just unloading and the guy wasn't being able to throw back, then you've got the perfect opportunity to jump in. But I don't see him getting that badly hurt, because I think he would have pounced on him, and I just think it would have just been cleaner. But that's just me. I'm not bloodthirsty, but I felt like that guy was still there and wanted it. I don't think he wasn't doing the Zab Judah and pointing over there and walking the other way, was he?
That's fair, but that little kind of messing about with his shorts and stuff, that put a doubt into my mind that he didn't want to continue. Also, I think after the second knockdown, the ref was like, "Do you want to continue?" and put your hands up, and he wasn't putting his hands up. So I think the ref saw them as signs that he didn't really want to be there anymore.
Yeah, it's like a culmination effect.
Yeah, no, maybe you're right, but yeah, I'm the 10 seconds more, not the 10 seconds less guy. So
yeah, I know what you mean. And what do you think about Bradis? That if that fight happens, that's a good fight, man.
Well, we need to talk about just quickly. I thought the one thing he did do well was when he did have a little bit of a pressure applied, he didn't have any issue grabbing hold, did he, this time? Because last time he didn't do any of that stuff. So he might have been taught some of the darker arts.
He's
been going to the States a bit recently, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Training out there. So, yeah, he looked better, more composed fighter than he did previously, I think.
Lim's been...
Yeah, he wasn't just trying to shoulder roll and...
Yeah, no, he was using his upper body movement, wasn't he? But then he was getting inside and grabbing hold if he needed to.
Yeah, he wasn't just trying to rely on that completely, 100%, the way that he did in the first fight. He was utilizing that, and then in the moments where it was going to be beneficial to him, he'd either initiate a clinch or, he would still have a high guard and then would counter behind the high guard.
Look, is that Bradis not signed up for that cruiserweight tournament?
Fuck knows, to be honest. I'm not 100% sure.
Have you seen that? I was looking into that. So they've got Bradis, I think, and it's Gaz. Is it what's the one who's one of the other champions?
Gassiev.
Gassiev, and then some next guy. But they should just put them all in that.
Just put Kudryashov in there, man. He'll take them all.
Yeah, put it in there.
Is Usyk in that tournament? Or no? He won't be.
Not yet. There's only those 3 guys that have been announced, and it's some kind of slightly lower level guy, I think. But not lower level, but kind of contender guy who's in it. I haven't really heard of him, but that's just fantastic, isn't it?
Maybe they'll put Mike Perez in it, man, because he's in shape these days.
But there's all kinds of people to go into that competition.
Can Perez take time off the boxing voice though? Because he's full time now.
He looked good though. I thought he looks like he's in good shape for once, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's in great shape, man.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think I don't think Usyk risks all of his glory in a competition with that many murderous punches. I'm not saying he can't take a punch. I'm just saying why expose you? He's thinking why expose himself to those dangers when he's doing quite well as it is at the moment.
Leon, Kudryashov versus Usyk, who's got scary eyes?
I don't know. I just feel like Usyk might have scary eyes, but he'll just fuck with you and not do anything. Where the other one, I think he'd definitely kill
Well,
you.
Usyk has a dumbass haircut, so that kind of takes away from.
Yeah, he's a bit more goofy, isn't he? They are terrifying, but I think Kudryashov would kill your entire family in your sleep. But I don't think he'd have any issue.
Usyk is more like, hey, you guys.
And Kudryashov would do it while he has a freaking army behind him, chanting and freaking banging whatever the fuck that is that they bang when they're doing that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It almost sounds like they're banging like some sort of like steel beam against the floor or something.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But look, if he was born 30, 40 years ago, he'd have blood on his hands already. Do you know what I mean? In that he would have been utilised by the Russians for other stuff. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, let's move on. Are we done on that fight?
Yeah, I didn't see any of the other card because I just saw you guys the link from the chat.
That's all I watched. I didn't watch any of the undercard on the Russian.
Was it? Do we know if it was on like a YouTube channel or anything? Because I completely forgot about it. If I'm honest,
I wasn't hopeful.
No, I caught it after the fact. So that's all.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Go to the UK. Go to Brentwood. Talk about Bradley Skeet. Did you watch this fight, Leon?
Yeah. I've watched it. I'm watching it again now because it just flips over from I watched that Ben fight on YouTube. So I'm watching the Skeet fight again. Yeah. And what do you think?
I don't know. The first 2.5 rounds, I thought Singleton did pretty decent. Both the guys are kind of waiting and fighting, and it was kind of nip and tuck. And I thought Singleton did better in the second round. Second round, he started to land a few left hooks, and the start of the third again, he was kind of landing left hooks on Skeet, and then I don't know if it was just Skeet got his timing right or he was just taking it easy, but end of the third, he just caught him with that right hand, dropped him. He seemed okay, got up. Bell went to the corner. Fourth, he came out, got dropped again with a similar punch. He was throwing a 1-2, just got in between with the right hand, dropped again. And ended that round, I don't know, he just trying to show a bit of bravado, put his hands down, tensed up his neck and took a few free shots off Skeet.
Yeah, weird, wasn't it?
Stupid, man. Like, why give a guy free shots, man? You know, he can cut you, he can drop you, and obviously you're tensing your neck up, but it's still going to create damage. And the fifth, Skeet came out fast, landed a few combinations on Singleton, and Marcus McDonald, the ref, decided to stop it after about maybe 13, 14 unanswered punches, but not all of them landed. And I know this is where you're a bit pissed off.
I'm not pissed off. I think he was defensively aware and was slipping some of those punches. And he got buzzed and he got turned, didn't he? So he was going to side on to the ring, and Skeet landed some shots.
Also, his hand kind of got caught in between the ropes as well, so that made him not obviously defend himself properly because his hand was in between ropes. Yeah,
if you're at a right angle with the ropes, you're in all kinds of wrong position, aren't you?
Yep.
And he got caught, and Skeet put him in that position with his punch landed. But I think he knew where the punches were coming from, and a lot of those. Bunce is going there going, 18, is an 18 unanswered.
And then they count it, and he's like, 14.
Yeah, they're counting it, but does it matter if they're unanswered if they're not landing?
That's the question.
That guy was throwing. He stepped back in, ready to take it to him. I'm not saying Skeet doesn't knock him out in that round, because I think he probably did, because he was finding a home for that right hand, and he seems a bit bigger now, doesn't he? And he's sitting down in his punches, so I have no issue with anything that Skeet did. I just think it was, yet again, poor refereeing. He jumped in and then he kind of wanted, you could see he kind of wanted to pull out, but then he was in between them, so he kind of, he had to go for it, didn't he? He had to commit to it.
He did it Ian John Lewis.
They were trying to say he had stepped in before he threw a punch. Well, if that's the case, then why did his right hand block one punch?
Yeah, exactly that. They were trying too hard at ringside.
I don't know what's going on. All the stuff that we used to praise Box Nation from, that seems to be
even Steve Lillis
a bit,
Steve Lillis, Lillis was always good, man, but he's changed a bit.
Look, I think Skeet looked good, and I think he's very talented, and he's certainly won me over. And since that Eggington fight, he has started to apply more pressure and be more aggressive.
Yeah.
But the thing I found strange about the first couple of rounds is he didn't use his jab enough, and that was always the
key.
one thing you'd praise him for.
Yeah, he did start off very slowly, but
yeah,
I'm
and
just
his
hoping
trainer
that...
said he got hit too much because he was trying to engage, and he did get landed on a bit more, but maybe he just wasn't worried about this guy's power because he seems a pretty sturdy guy.
Yeah, I just hope that he gets, his next defense of the British title out of the way, because he seems like he's like a year behind or something. Like a kid that's left behind in class and he has to repeat a year or something. It's like Eggington's gone on and he's just kind of like just sat here waiting.
Can we? People tell me Eggington's got on, right? He's gone beyond Skeet. Has he?
I wouldn't say he's gone beyond Skeet, but he's kind of regrouped pretty well. And
look, Skeet would fucking pick Paulie apart. That Paulie, I have no problem saying that. Like that Paulie win's just some horribleness. I'm glad Paulie lost because I'm no big fan.
No, that's fair. But you know how much we disagree with triangle theories. But Gavin beat Skeet, and Eggington beat the shit out of Gavin, and obviously Eggington lost.
I'm not saying. All I'm saying is he's beat names. Eggington's beat names, but those names aren't beyond British level now. Paulie now is at British level. Gavin's proven himself to be fully British level.
I'd say he's European level now.
It's just unfortunate for Skeet that the names haven't been as good. But
that's fair.
He's saying he wants that. He said he didn't get hurt, marked up. He was saying at ringside, I want that fight. The next, who the next mandatory is, he named him. Like I hadn't heard of him. So if he's willing to get that fight done in 3 months, so what's that, September? Then he could fight for a European belt in December, and then he could, if everything goes well, defend that, and then he would deserve a final eliminator.
I don't know if I didn't mishear it. I misheard it properly, but did he not say he wanted to get on that Billy Joe Saunders card? Is that the one he mentioned?
I think it maybe I didn't quite catch that, but he just wants to get this defense out of the way.
Will that be his last defense?
That he would win the belt then.
Right,
he'd keep the belt.
Yeah, I hope that happens.
Look, I have no issue with him doing that, but and to be fair, what is he, like 28 now? This is where he's kind of in the right place.
Yeah,
it's just can they get the fights for him?
Yeah. Neil, did you manage to catch this card and promoted by One Boxing? What a great name.
We're going to talk about that, me and you, afterwards, Cam.
No, I didn't catch this card.
We're going to talk about what, Leon?
That Wham Boxing, I was looking into that. Like, I was just wondering,
Did you look at their company's house?
What?
Did you look at their company's house?
Yeah, I looked deeper into company's house.
But it's funny thing, I was doing the same thing yesterday.
So that's that guy who used to be head of PR for Matchroom, isn't it?
Yeah,
he was the other guy.
But I think he's a manager as well.
Yeah. So he's Wham Boxing with George.
George is the guy that kind of runs Box Nation and kind of does all the behind-the-scenes stuff.
What George does is he's the only one trusted by Frank, because as far as I can work out, Francis isn't a director of anything.
Nah, Francis is
not a director of not Queensbridge. He's not on the board. He's not secretary or anything on Box Nation. He's not on this Wham Boxing. He's just an employee.
Yeah, Francis.
There's about 15 people on the Box Nation thing. There's like money from India and different places. So Francis is just he's that guy from Godfather, isn't he? That gets shot in the boat.
He reminds me of that third triplet that's in Futurama, the stupid one. But
why do they have to have so many? Like, why did he have? It always smells fishy, doesn't it?
It must be some type of tax
when
thing
Frank
or some
starts
shit.
getting multiple promotion companies.
Yeah, it must be some type of tax stuff as well. Because this is the second card. The first one was the last one with One Boxing.
No, well maybe, but I was looking into whoever the guy is who's the other member of Wham. He's worked on like quite multiple different fights as a promoter. So maybe he used to work for Queensbridge. So he's been put on Billy Joe fights and stuff. So maybe this Wham thing's always been on in the background, but they've just kind of put it out there now.
Wait a minute, there's a promotional company called Wham?
Yeah.
Wake me up before you go.
No H.
It's only been going since last year officially, though. So
Yeah. But I don't have like people shit on these cards and say, "Oh, we would shit on a bad Eddie Hearn card." But Box Nation never tell me it's the most important thing and the best thing since sliced bread, do they?
No, and we get it.
They just say this is British level fights. This is what it is, and if you're into that, we'll provide you with British level fights. Here, have a look. But I mean, it's not like look at the fucking state of next gen and that. We'll come to that fucking card at O2 with Frank Buglioni on it because that is fucking horrible.
That's terrible.
And they're like giving it all these big flashy fucking names and stuff. It's just we smell bullshit. Just tell us it's a little card. Don't make it out to be bigger than it is.
I don't know as well. Like I just watched that Hearn interview and he was making it out like all the fucked up terrorist acts we've had recently may affect ticket sales of events. He wasn't just talking about boxing, but like other musical events and stuff. So I think the excuses are already there when this card was terrible for Gate.
Yeah, and I'm never going to listen to any of fucking Eddie Hearn's political fucking views because he's a fucking Tory cunt. Pardon, sorry.
Mark and Mullender, did you catch this fight, Leo?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen that. That's up next.
It was a decent fight, man. Mullender just kind of outworked Markham. Markham maybe had the cleaner shots, but not enough of them.
Have I seen this before, Cam?
It was a rematch, yeah. I think the original was on one of David Hayes' horrible comebacks at the O2 when he was doing his show on Dave. So yeah, that's when when he fought that the second time, the Good Age guy. When he was supposed to fight Shannon
Cobra.
Briggs. Yeah, when Shannon Briggs was on the card. Yeah, that was a terrible card, man.
Dreadful. One of the worst.
One of the worst, definitely. But yeah, it was an okay fight. Kind of went into the scene. Sorry?
I was going to say, did you see the state of the guy that Boy Jones was fighting?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that. And
okay.
that was horrible, man. But yeah, it was okay. I had it like 6-4 to Mullender. One judge had it to Markham. Maybe he was just counting all the cleaner shots that he was landing, but Mullender had a few like tricks in the bag this time. He had some little like side steps to kind of create angles, which was quite decent, man. And because he looks like a brawler, like he doesn't use his brain, but he was using it throughout the fight. So decent fight. Boy Jones, Leon, we're fans, but this level of opponent, pretty awful.
Fucking diabolical, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The standard of that guy. Any punch that landed to the stomach, he crumbled, didn't he?
I know they're trying to rebuild, but there's a level of rebuilding like this isn't going to do anything for you.
No, he learned nothing other than he knows how to throw a body shot, and he already knew he could do that. So, but it's done. So just do better. We'd want him to fight. We're not saying that he has to fight, the same level as he lost in the last fight, but this guy was possibly one of the worst I've ever seen, I think, Cam.
Really bad. I'm happy though. Really he kind of got out. He got a payday, so fuck it. If they're willing to pay you, so
yeah. But the guy we saw him fight was at least durable and had some movement, right? This guy was nothing.
This guy was terrible, yeah. But last fight I really want to mention is the Harley Ben fight. I criticised Harley Ben pretty badly the first time when he made his debut, and I thought he was just really ragged and really wild, and his technique was poor, and like he wasn't as wild this time. He took his time a bit, but yeah, he's very raw. And to give Steve Lillis the props, like they were saying, look, this guy he's a novice basically, and they're gonna really slow track him because basically it's just a guy off the street fighting a professional fight almost when you look at him. And I don't know, he did okay at times, but yeah, every punch is just too wild, man. Like his straight punches are looped. He's very left hook happy, but he's missing so often. But he kept trying it. You think, well, you keep missing, maybe step in closer or set it up with something, maybe right hand left hook. But and his opponent had the longest neck in the world, which was quite funny to see. And he did get him down in the second round. He kind of caught him with a glancing left hook, which kind of caught him. I don't know if the feet got tangled as well. I know Barry was saying that maybe there was a tangling of the feet, but I don't know. Second fight, got a win, got 4 rounds as well. He started to tire her a bit as well. Cummings started to use the jab a bit towards the end of the fight, and yeah, I kind of give Cummings the last 2. So if it wasn't for the knockdown, I would have had it a draw. So yeah,
really, because I thought that Cummings guy won the first round with the jab as well.
Possibly. I think the first round was kind of
like he was.
either
I thought he looked all right, but he obviously didn't have much resistance, did he?
Yeah. So yeah, so if you had it that way, you'd have him winning the fight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I wasn't really scoring it. I was just watching it as we were talking about Stevenson, but yeah, it looked reasonably close to me. And that, he was quite wild with those uppercuts as well, wasn't he?
I don't know what the plan is with Ben though, Leon. Like, what they're gonna do with him? Like, slow track him for like 3 years, and finally when he steps up against some English level guy, he's gonna get stopped, or I don't know. What's the plan with him?
Like they said, they just have to take it really, really slowly. I mean, like you said, they're creating a fighter with no real amateur background, so he could be fighting at this level for the next 3 years, couldn't he?
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't want to shit on him too much again, but I've read interviews and he's saying, well, Connor's been like kind of given almost the golden spoon when it comes to boxing, and he's had like gloves on since he was young, and he's had all the all the necessary, what's the word I'm looking for, comforts of becoming a boxer. And he's kind of had to do it on his own with his mum and all that. And yeah, it's it must be horrible to kind of grow up without a dad. Your dad not being there, not really caring about you and that. But he's saying, I'm trying to make it on my own, trying to do it off my own name. But really, you are where you are at the moment because of your name. Like he carried his mother's name until I think he was 16, and he changed it and used Ben. So he is trying to use his father's name to get up there. So I think even that's a bit. You can't really say you're making it on your own, but you're still kind of living off your pops. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being a bit too critical.
No, but at least Frank Warren isn't fucking putting him as a co-headliner on fucking pay-per-views and shit. I mean, he's on a fucking small hall fight in Brentwood, and he just happens to be on a boxing channel. So of course he's going to be televised. So I mean, in that case, yeah, I mean, Conor, he's got all the kind of trappings and all the things that he doesn't have, but his icing won't be half as humiliating as Conor's will.
No, that's true, but I think like as critical I've been of Conor's before, Conor's a lot better than Harley.
Yeah, exactly, he is, but I don't know. Let the kid fight. Let's see what happens.
So in 5 years' time, Leon, we'll be discussing his 30th fight when he's still fighting a journeyman with a losing record. So.
Yep, but he might lose before then.
That's true.
He could get George like that. Mitchell lost to that George Jupp. That kind of style of loss.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's move on. Go to France, not a place we often go. Normally we talk about Endam if we're talking about fights in France, but Naoto. Tony Yoka made his professional debut on Friday, and Virgil was in the corner. He must have jumped on the plane straight away to go to Canada, because he was in Fonfara's corner as well. But what did you think of Tony Yoka's debut?
I mean, he did pretty well. I mean, of course, most fighters in their pro debut aren't going to be fighting anybody really special or anything. But, I mean, he was fighting a guy that was undefeated. And a guy that, I mean, it looked like, at the very least, even though Clark wasn't in the greatest of shape, he was ready for a fight. He was ready for a scrap. And Yoka gave him that and more. He definitely showed some of the same combination punching ability that he had showed in the Olympics. He wasn't, I don't think, getting over anxious and just trying to look for a knockout against Clark. I mean, he kind of set everything up fairly well. He's really good at throwing combinations and moving, which is kind of rare with a guy as big as him. So I think that might foretell some good things for him in the future, possibly. I still think that he kind of leaves his chin hanging out there a little bit too much. But regardless of that, I mean, he took care of business here against Clark. Beat him up pretty badly. I thought I saw him do a funny little shuffle towards the end of the round when he hurt him. And then, took him out in the second round. Didn't waste too much time, put on a big show for fans there in Paris, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how they move him, if they're gonna try and fast track him, or exactly what they do with him, because I think that he could definitely be a big seller there in France. Like I've said it in the past, they might try to promote him almost like a French Joshua or something like that.
But the issue is like my dad's best friend lived in Paris since like 1966, and he's a boxing fan. And my dad lives in France now as well. They don't live over here, and he's a boxing fan. No one in France gives two fucks about boxing. Like, if you think it's a new sport, they would rather go and watch balls, where they play with the metal balls and the little ball and try and get it closer. That's a bigger sport.
But Leo,
much bigger sport.
Did you see the fight?
I didn't see the fight, and it might have been good there in Paris, but I'd love to know where it was shown, what channel it was shown on, and I bet you the viewing figures were fucking horrible.
It was on Canal Plus. Canal Plus.
It wasn't. Yeah.
I don't know.
So Leon, that's that's HBO of French TV.
I don't know, Leon.
But I mean,
the crowd looked kind of hyped. It wasn't a massive arena, but it was full, and the atmosphere looked pretty decent.
And like we hinted at last week, I mean, it was a big story coming out of the Olympics that him and Estelle Mosseli won gold medals, and then they got married afterwards. And so that was like some big news in France and stuff, because I think they don't necessarily get really like there aren't too many like world class like athletes in general. I don't think necessarily that are like celebrities beyond France that come from France. So in a way, I think he might be somebody to kind of galvanize that, in a way that not too many others really have. Because I mean, honestly,
the football side of it is massive. The football side of it's huge.
Yeah, no, you're right. I actually shouldn't have overlooked that. But I'm saying, at the very least in boxing, the last French fighter that I remember that was like really legit on a world level was Brian Maslow. And funny enough is he kind of wound up retiring simply because of the fact that, he wasn't getting the money that he really wanted, and because of, the lack of giving a damn, basically. And also I think Giovanni Segura probably had something to do with that as well. But, with Yoka, I think it might be a little bit different. He might be able to galvanize some more interest than there otherwise could have been.
Yeah, I just liked his patience. A lot of these guys on their debut just kind of go in there, try and get the knockout, and he was kind of patient behind the jab, 1-2s, and as Naota said, he caught Clark with this kind of straight left and stunned him, did this little shuffle, jumped on him, he landed a really nice right hook to his body, and Clark went down, got up, but he was kind of finished. He was a bit scrappy. He was trying to jump in and doing that. He put an effort in. He didn't just come to fall over, but he kind of landed a few more combinations in the corner, and guy got dropped again, and the ref stopped it. But yeah, I just liked his patience. He was good. And one thing I noticed, Neota, is the weight. Like, he's saying that it was 240, but he carries it well. He doesn't look like big and muscly and heavy like AJ does, and I think he carries the weight really well. I know he's 6'7", and BoxRec have AJ at 6'6", but yeah, he doesn't look like this big dude that's going to gas out after 6 rounds.
Yeah, he's built way different. I think he's a bit more bottom heavy, whereas Joshua's a bit top heavy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you could see that he has really long arms, and it's a different. He's really got just a completely different body type compared to AJ. More of like a leaf. You could imagine him like playing basketball or something, as opposed to AJ, where you probably imagine him playing football.
Yeah,
just two different body types. But yeah, I mean, he kind of shows it in the ring too. I mean, he's pretty smooth with his movements and everything. He's fluid. He's not really a stiff fighter. I mean, I guess maybe his defense is a tad stiff, but I think there's some things to work on there in terms of making him more fluid, be able to roll a little bit better. But I mean, I think he definitely has some potential, and well, let's see what he's got. And the nice thing though too is, even though he might be able to get some more interest in the sport in his home country and such, I don't necessarily think that'll be a measure to protect him as well. I think he's probably going to have to fight some tougher fights as opposed to fighters like say from the UK.
I completely agree. I don't think they'll be able to get him near world level, and he might have to leave France.
Yeah.
That's kind of my bigger point about that sport in France in general. I think he'll if he goes well, he's obviously be quite quickly in going to America because he's with what's his name, isn't he? Schaefer.
Yeah.
So that'll happen quickly, I think. He'll be on an undercard, Deontay Wilder undercard.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Nato, let's move on. Talk about Thailand. Wanheng Manayathan defended his WBC strap. I watched the fight. It was a scrappy fight, Nato.
Yeah, I mean, early on, I think it was better than later on. It seemed like they were really going at it. Kimweri is just the guy that I kind of compared him to, like a Ricardo Mayorga or like a Sakio Bika. He just comes at you throwing flurries of punches from every angle. Just kind of wild and trying to just pressure you, push you, bully you. And, I think that kind of shocked Manayathan in the first couple of rounds. It's like he wasn't exactly able to figure out how to deal with somebody that was throwing punches at him from such like ridiculous angles. But I think like close to the end of the second round and into the third round, he managed to kind of get a little bit of a rhythm and start to kind of sharpshoot him up the middle. And especially he started using his jab a lot more. He hasn't necessarily used his jab in a lot of past fights. He tended to, kind of paw with it and then shoot power punches behind it. But this time he was actually really shooting the jab, stepping into it a lot more. I think probably by as it got into like the sixth round or so, is where Manayathan started to really take over the fight. Where Kimura was still throwing a lot of punches and bunches and everything, but a lot of those punches were almost kind of similar with like Durodola and Kudryashov, where they were almost like slaps on the arms, on the gloves, not really particularly clean. And, it was just trying to kind of volume up and wear Manayathan down by attrition, whereas Manayathan was really landing the clean, hard shots and, rocking his head back and, catching the eye of the crowd and probably the judges as well. And then, Kimura looked like he was trying to end the fight, on a good note. The WBC did have open scoring for this fight, as they have for a lot of their championship fights that are outside of the US.
That was funny. That dude just holding up the scorecard to the camera.
Yeah. Yeah, that was in the fourth and the eighth round.
That was some get with shit.
Manayathan was way up.
They could have had some screen They could have had some screen stuff, man. They don't have to film the guy holding a piece of paper, man. That was a big. that was a big get.
Yeah, that's how they always do it with Manayathan's fights. I've seen it in all of his past fights too. He just pretty much took over. The last couple of rounds, Kimura managed to make him a little bit more even, but by that point it was pretty much. It was elementary, Manayathan won most of those rounds, won the fight, and now it's I guess just a waiting game for his next mandatory, or if they get him another stay busy. Leroy Estrada, as I mentioned last week, he's the new mandatory for him since he just beat Saul Juarez. Albeit maybe a little bit controversially. I thought that was a close fight, could have gone either way, but Estrada got it. And Juarez was actually one of the guys that gave Manayathan one of his toughest fights so far. So I think Estrada is definitely a legit worthy opponent for Manayathan, as he's chasing that illustrious 50-0. He may be TBE within a year from now.
Did you have it wide like the judges did?
I had it. Well, what did I have it? I think I had it 8 rounds to 3 with 1 even, something like that.
Yeah, man. I think they had it a bit too wide for my liking. I thought, Kimura had a good start. That first round, he came out the box really quick.
Yeah.
Started throwing loads of shots. I think, like he said, he caught Manayathan off guard a bit. Like he was a bit taken back by how quick he was starting. And I thought Manayathan's corner did well with that cut in that first round, because it looked really bad and it looked like it was going to affect him throughout the fight, but it didn't. Like the blood stopped, and he was continuing fighting without any issues.
I forgot to mention that was actually the even round that I gave, because the WBC rules actually state that if a head clash occurs, the fighter that wasn't cut, the fighter that wasn't cut, if one fighter is cut, actually gets deducted a point.
That's some bullshit though, because what if you it wasn't an accidental, but you kind of initiated it and basically
you get cut.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, you lose a point as well.
Yeah, and that was kind of unfortunate for Kimura from a scoring perspective, because I thought he won that round pretty handily.
I did as well. Yeah,
I thought that was his best round of the fight.
Yeah, but yeah, it was okay. Like you said, Manayathan came on after the first couple and did a lot better, but there was a lot of holding and hitting and holding, and a lot of wrestling as well. They kind of like manhandling each other, spinning each other around, and it wasn't an enjoyable fight to watch for me. But...
Yeah, that's why I said, like, going into it, that like the first 3 rounds were really good, but once it got a little bit later, it was getting a lot more scrappy between the two of them, where both of them were clinching, hitting, and holding, and all that stuff. And I think a lot of it is just because Kim Wary, he'd be all the way on the outside, then he'd lunge in with those wild shots, and then they'd wind up like face to face with each other.
Yeah.
And so they try to fight out of it, and sometimes they weren't able to. And Minada then actually landed some pretty nice left hooks, like to left hook his way out of the clinch too. I thought that was pretty clever from him.
Yeah. His straight rights were good throughout the fight. Like they were rocking Kimori's head back all the way, man. They're just the right hand.
Yeah.
But
that's really his best punch, to the head and to the body. He actually shoots it really nicely to the body as well.
Yep. So I'm done on, I guess, the weekend's preview. You guys got any other fights that you want to mention, or should we just go into some news?
I wanted to mention Francisco Rodriguez. He was originally supposed to fight. It was actually I had kind of misspoke last week when I was talking about Muhammad Wasim being the mandatory for Daigo Higa, because I know this past year the WBC had said that it was going to be Wasim against the winner of a fight between Francisco Rodriguez and Oscar Cantu. And then the winner of that fight would be the mandatory for the WBC, which is now Higa. But Cantu, I guess, wound up pulling out of this fight with Rodriguez on late notice. They put in Rolando Guzman. I don't know if you may have seen Guzman before, Cam, because he fought Paul Butler. It was like 2 years ago, something like that. And he also fought Hatton's boy, Zakianov. And they both managed to stop him, of course. And here, those are bantamweights, though, and this is a former strawweight fighting at flyweight with Rodriguez. So you might think that Guzman might have had a little bit of a better shot, but he didn't. Rodriguez went in there, hit him with like a 4-punch combo, like within about the first 15 or 20 seconds. And even though Guzman still fought back, pretty well, like he gave a good effort for himself, and he landed a couple of shots here and there. It was pretty much just a 3-round beatdown from Rodriguez, and he eventually stopped him with another, I think it was like a 5-punch combo. It was like a right hand, 2 left uppercuts, and then another right hand up on the temple, and another left uppercut as he was going down, and he was just crumbled in the corner, and the ref called it right there. It looks like Rodriguez might be fighting Wasim to become the actual Mando.
Some Street Fighter combo.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's a really good fighter. I mean, he was like I said before, he was the unified strawweight champion. That was he fought Chocolatito when he was 20 years old, and then within a year after fighting Chocolatito, he became a unified 105-pound champion. So, I mean, a bit of a precocious fighter, but a guy that definitely grew from that experience they had against Gonzalez. Also had 2 close, hard-fought losses to Dani Nietes and Moises Fuentes, who are 2 of the better fighters to come around at the lower weight classes in the last decade, pretty much. So, I mean, he's even though he's only 23, he's fought some of the best guys that have been out there the last few years. So him, I think, versus Wasim, I think, is definitely a legit contender for Higa, and it'll be interesting to see that fight when it happens.
Leon, you'll have to wear your Pakistani cricket top if you ever see Muhammad Wasim fight, just to represent.
Yeah, I can do that for you, Cam.
All right, Leon, let's talk some news. Last week we kind of were looking at boxing scene, and there were rumbles about Adrian Broner versus Mikey Garcia, but yep, it's made. Really good fight, and the undercard not too bad as well so far. We got Jared Hurt versus Austin Trout, which I think is a decent fight. But
that's a good fight.
That's a good fight.
Yeah, start with Broner Garcia. Leon, your favourite boxer, Adrian Broner?
He's one of my favourite boxers. He's the real charmer. It's a weird fight, isn't it? Because people would say that Broner has the advantage because he's it should be the bigger guy, right? Can you guys still hear me?
Yep, perfectly.
Yeah, it's cut out weird for a second. Yeah, it's kind of like Mikey's going up, but Broner's really coming down, isn't he? I mean, 140 is a struggle for him to make. I don't know about you, but I'd rather be going up than coming down.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the case for most fighters, to be honest with you, like 99%.
Yeah, I think so. So, I mean, you would say that. So then we've got to think, does Mikey's skills go up in weight with him? That's no doubt about that. And I think, we've always said on here that we believe he's a big puncher. I mean, I think he possibly still be a big puncher at that weight.
Yeah, but
I think that's a good. I think that's a good weight for him.
Yeah, I think if anything, he probably maybe have more power because he's quite a big dude, man. He's got a kind of wide shoulders, biggish frame. So
Yeah,
I actually,
and let's be honest,
so go on.
Broner's not going to give him. I was speaking to Mark, and he was saying it'd be interesting to see Garcia fight someone with some lateral movement, but I mean, Broner's not doing that, is he?
No, he goes back
Anytime
in straight
soon.
lines. Yeah,
And he'll stand in front of him, won't he?
Yeah, I actually think it's
And
easy
not
work.
throw shit.
I think it's easy work for Garcia. I don't know if Naota agrees. You see it as competitive or?
I think it's competitive. I actually, and a big part of the reason for that is because Broner, even though he was a bit of a weight bully, like when he was at the lighter weights, the fact is he's still bigger than Garcia, the way that I see it. He's still, just a bigger fighter, a bigger person. You know what I mean? And they do have weight classes for a reason. I mean, that said, I do think that Garcia's skills can equalize that, and I do favor Garcia to win the fight. For this to be a 50-50 fight, almost kind of similar to with Brook and Spence, I think Broner has to be in 100% optimal shape. I think he has to be like the best Broner that he can be to make this really an even fight. And that's assuming a lot of things about Broner. That he's able to cut the weight properly, he's able to make weight properly, that he's in actual good shape at the weight and everything. I wouldn't be surprised if he just blows the weight completely and pays whatever fine that he has to and comes in at 143 or whatever the hell, whatever Broner weight he chooses or happens to weigh in at the weigh-in. But the thing is, on the inside especially, I mean, his hands are still quick and, they're still pretty dangerous. He's not really like a defensively, like supremely gifted fighter. I mean, he's good against certain types of fighters and certain levels of fighters, but I think Garcia is definitely a step above and beyond guys like that. I mean, I thought Broner lost against Adrian Granados, and while Garcia isn't as big of a person as Granados is, I think he's technically more skilled than Granados was. So even though he's fighting a smaller guy, he's fighting a guy that I think that is better. So it's almost like it kind of equals out. And so, I think it's an intriguing fight, and I think it'll be a really impressive fight. I don't think that there's going to be any rounds coming easy, and even if Garcia is able to stop Broner, I don't think that stoppage is going to come easy. I think he's definitely going to be in a real fight here against Broner. Broner is still, a high-level guy, regardless of if he's like an elite welterweight, which he's not, not necessarily anyway. I mean, but he's still a guy that can give a lot of guys a lot of problems. And I mean, I think he showed that even against Porter. He managed to floor him late in that fight and everything. And the only guys that have actually managed to get a decision over him were Maidana and Porter. I mean, you could make arguments for Ponce de Leon and Quintero, but neither of them were actually got the official decision. But at the same time, Quintero and Ponce de Leon actually being smaller guys than even Garcia, I think definitely gives some extra hope for Garcia to actually pull it off as well, because it can prove that size isn't necessarily the entire matter of the thing. It's like he can equalize it with his skill set.
Yep, and just quickly on the undercard, Leon, I'm surprised. I don't know if Austin Trout was mandatory. I don't think he was, but I'm surprised Jared Hurd has decided to defend his title first time round against Trout, because if you think about it, Harrison Trout got very similar styles. Harrison was winning that fight until he kind of slowed down and, Hurd managed to kind of get to him. And I don't know. I just think it's a bad style matchup for Hurd. Like Austin Trout on the back foot, he can kind of outbox you and stay on the back foot. And yeah, he does get dropped, but he does get up. So I'm picking Trout in this one.
Yeah, and to be fair, Trout has in his last couple of fights, even though I think he definitely lost last time out, didn't he?
Yeah, he lost to Jamal Charlo.
Yeah, but he was in that fight, and I think there was an argument for a draw and possibly, I think maybe a win for him was a slight stretch, but you can still see it. I mean, he really turned up in that fight. So, and Hurd's kind of wild, isn't he?
Hurd is a guy that like he needs you to get tired for him to kind of come on late.
Yeah.
He starts slow. He's really not particularly skilled, honestly. Like, I mean, he definitely has some skills to him, but he isn't like that guy that's just gonna, that's just on another level, and he's just gonna whack you out of there early on. Like I said, he starts slow. He got touched up quite a bit versus Jojo Dan, Mr. Donut. Your favorite fighter, Leon.
Yeah.
And Tony Harrison was pretty much whooping his ass up until about like the 8th round, when Harrison pretty much just ran out of gas and Hurd came on with all those power shots. So I mean, as long as Trout keeps up the work, I think he can outbox Hurd, and I kind of expect him to. If anything, those late rounds may be crucial for him, because Hurd, he's almost, I guess, like a Margarito-esque fighter, except he's not necessarily pressuring you the entire time. He's hitting you on the arms and stuff. At least trying to get you on the way to getting tired, and then he comes on late with the big power shots and such. So that could be dangerous for Trout. But I mean, it's an intriguing fight either way, because I think Hurd definitely has more power than Trout, and he has the ability to hurt him. But Trout has the ability to outbox and outwork Hurd, and I think that's going to be the way a lot of the rounds go. It's really going to be like volume versus power, and exactly who lands cleaner is going to decide which rounds go to who. So I mean, I think it's an interesting fight all the way through.
But I don't think Trout's got enough power to stop him being wildly coming in on him. Like,
True.
Enough to keep him, to sting him a bit.
I think Hurd did it really bad at cutting off the ring against Harrison, and Trout does use lateral, so I think he's going to just follow him around, and I think Trout should be able to pick him off. But I guess we can discuss it more when closer to the time.
But it's a good, we should praise him for taking a good fight.
No, that's true. I just thought maybe first defense.
It's a risky fight, but it's a good fight, and that's all we can ask of these guys.
That's true. Moving on, Leon, Joshua Buatsi signed with Matchroom today. We were big fans last summer when he was in the Olympics. Got some stoppages, and as they say, got old man a bit in the final. Got picked up the bronze, and from what I was reading, he wanted to finish his last year of university, which is very commendable, man, because I guess loads of people were knocking at his door when he won that medal. So it's good that he finished his education and he's ready to turn professional. I was impressed then, and I'm happy to see his journey. I hope he just doesn't fight 12 bums.
Yeah, well, that is all. That is the Matchroom way. Do we know who he ended up with as a trainer? Did he get given to Sims?
I'm not sure.
Or who's Herm blessed us with?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'm not really
sure. We know that he's being managed by AJ's management company, isn't he?
Yeah, I think for kind of promotional purposes, yeah.
Yeah, and I think fight management as well. Or is it just promotions? But yeah, so it's interesting that AJ is working, actually, because I know he announced it, but he'd actually signed someone now. So, I mean, maybe we'll have to get behind AJ if he'll get rid of Herm for us. But
maybe he only signs people called with Joshua.
Yeah, but I mean, again, really enjoyed him in the Olympics, and let's just see what happens. But I mean, problem is we might not be able to thoroughly enjoy him for another 2.5 years.
That's true.
So that's not you shouldn't rush a guy. So let's be fair. So let's not. The point is, let's not put too many bells and whistles on him. That's always like Hearn's always big news coming, and it's always like selling this. This is his new thing at the moment, isn't it? His pet thing at the moment is Olympians.
You see big news and you think, Klitschko Joshua 2 is going to get announced.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's only Buatsi signing to Matchroom.
And we always saw this coming, and people, most people said they'd probably sign with Matchroom after the Olympics. So it's just, we'll check in on him in 3 or 4 fights. Yep. Is what I'd stand with him.
Leota, you were impressed in Rio last year with Buatsi, weren't you?
Yeah. I mean, he did a really good job on, made to the semifinals where he lost to the silver medalist, and I thought he showed a solid skill set for the most part all the way around. So I think Niazim Bitov was able to just kind of get off first, basically in the 3 rounds that they had when he fought Buatsi. But yeah, Buatsi should be a solid pro, and let's see what he's got.
Definitely. Okay, moving on. What else we got? Eubank versus Arthur Abraham. I know there's 2 dates kind of been slated and not sure if one of them has been confirmed, but just initial opinion on the fight, Leon. Good fight, bad fight?
You can only judge it. I mean, yeah, it's a decent fight compared, if you look at it across the board. But if you compare it to Eubank's last fight, it's you've got to say it's a big step up for him.
Yep.
It'll be the second, if not first, best guy he's fought. If we, I don't know. Actually, I'd say Abraham is a better fighter than Billy Joe, but is he getting old, Abraham? I mean, yes, he's getting old, Abraham, isn't he? So they're about the same, probably. Yeah. So you got to say it's an interesting fight, but I mean, we finally see if Abraham tries to pull the just fight in the last 30 seconds of a round, because he might have thrown about 400 punches by then.
I was going to say he would have had a Street Fighter press every button on the control pad combination, and then in the last 20 seconds, Abraham decides to throw a few punches to try and steal the round. So, did anyone think that he can stop him? I don't think he'll stop him.
No, because he's one of those fighters who's good at not being stopped.
And the high guard works for him, and he doesn't get caught
well,
clean.
I mean, Abraham has a good chin too. I mean, you got to remember going all the way back to when Miranda broke his fucking jaw. I mean, Abraham fought through that whole fight pretty much with a broken jaw, and got the decision, however controversially, but he got it. I mean, he definitely has a good chin.
Nailed to what happens though if the day before the fight, Louis Pabon or Ian John Lewis get announced as the referees? I'm putting money on stoppage for Eubank.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, he'll throw like a 40 punch combination.
Yeah, the jumping, shaking. Yeah, 40 punch combination where 4 of the 40 land.
Punches himself twice.
Yeah, Ian John Lewis gives Arthur Abraham a hug. No, I couldn't let it continue. Sorry, but Nailta, what do you think? Good fight?
Yeah, very good fight. Very good fight. Abraham's only been really cleanly defeated handily by Ramirez. And Eubank is a guy that was on the precipice, on the cusp of, fighting an elite level opponent in Golovkin, however good or bad we thought he was going to do in that fight. So I think Abraham versus Eubank is a good kind of crossroads fight. A guy that's kind of on the come up, still trying to get that big elite level fight, and a guy that's been there, who's a bit on the downside, but he's trying to get back. He's trying to get continue his career and still linger on there, as a big name and somewhat of a draw, and it's a good fight. Eubank is just open enough to, I think, get Abraham to really throw some power shots at him, and we'll see. We may see Eubank's chin get tested. We'll definitely see if he gets hit with a clean shot, exactly how deep that well goes for his punch resistance. And on the flip side, I mean, that volume against that lesser volume and high guard of Abraham, I think is good for Eubank tactically. But once again, Abraham is good with those power shot counters, so we'll see exactly what Eubank's made of possibly.
Let's see if he goes to the body, because that's I think he could do some damage there. So
yeah,
if he's going to stand there with the earmuffs up, that seems the obvious point of attack.
Yep, just below the elbows.
So, and you got to say that whatever people think and say about him, he is got good movement on his feet. I mean, he's sometimes out of balance, but I think if Abraham is going to fight in spurts, I think that suits Eubank.
Yeah, he's going to be. All those combinations you see on his Instagram where he's hitting a bag or hitting that little combination machine with multiple punches. That's what's going to happen in the fight, because Abe's not going to kind of look for counter punches. He's going to stand there, absorb it, and then try and fire back. But
because look, he's a fit kid, so he could easily outpoint anyone if they're not willing to throw with him. If you know what I mean, because his work rate's very high.
Yeah.
So if you're just going to stand there and let him tee off and then and then trying to go on the attack when he stops throwing, it's not going to get you very far with him, I don't think.
Yeah. All right, let's quickly just go back to Buatsi, because there was a question I forgot to ask. He fought in the Olympics at 81 kilograms, which is about 178.5 pounds. Do we think he'll fight at light heavy, or do you think he'll try and maybe boil down to maybe eventually 168?
I would go try and see if you can get to 168.
Same here, yeah.
Like,
Have that
go
advantage.
to a 170, 72, 1. You go down them in ones. You've got the time to do it, so try it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not sure exactly what his weights were when
he was weighing in.
Yeah. When he weighed in the Olympics and stuff, because they weigh you in every day that you're going to be fighting. So I mean, who knows? Maybe he have been weighing 168 or 170 in the Olympics, possibly.
True.
So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he could even get down to middleweight. Just because the Olympic weights are so there's a lot of breadth between each weight class. So I mean, it kind of remains to be seen. Some guys in the Olympics are even dehydrating themselves to make that weight, and then there's other guys that are more like kind of fighting at maybe at a higher weight class than they could optimally be at, simply because they want to not really have to worry about cutting on the day of and all that stuff. So it could go either way, really, for him. I mean, we could see a middleweight in there, or we could see a light heavyweight. It kind of remains to be seen. I don't remember him being especially huge necessarily.
Yeah,
so,
he was a big wasn't he?
Yeah, so I'd say super middleweight probably to begin with, and then maybe after a little while they may see if they could cut him down to middle eventually or something. But yeah, I mean we'll see exactly when the time comes.
Yeah, I don't know. From body frame and stuff, I think middle might be a bit too much, but we'll see.
Yeah, it might be.
I watched the Hearn latest IFL video before the show. He's talking about numerous things, obviously Buatsi and this horrible card that he's got in a couple of weeks. I don't know if I'm going to leave that till next week, Leon, or if you want to talk about it today. But you mentioned Ndongo Crawford. I know he had the option on promotional 1 fight or 2 fights with Ndongo to promote him after that Burns fight. So he's saying that he was in the States trying to sort that out with a few other deals, and it seems like he's going to try to get the fighting with Crawford in Omaha pretty soon, and all 4 belts will be on the line, which I find interesting though, because after Ndongo won the belt, IBF came out and they're quite adamant that he has to face Lipnitz or get stripped. And I don't know, every time Hearn's involved in some IBF belt where it's not in other promoters' favour. Like, I know he had this interview a couple of weeks ago and he was talking about Fury camp could have put in some type of exception and maybe delayed getting stripped of the IBF when he was supposed to have that rematch with Vlad. But I don't know, everything just seems to go in Hearn's favour. Like, 1 second the IBF is so adamant about Ndongo fighting Lipnitz, and now it's like they're gone a bit quiet, and it seems like all 4 belts are going to be on the line, and Crawford might become undisputed at 140 if he beats Ndongo. So what's your thoughts on it?
Well, that's what happens if you let Kell Brook fight 3 horrible or 2 horrible mandatories. You get your money in the bank, don't you?
You get the favours.
You get the favours if you're willing to give these guys their opportunities. I think that's all it is. That's his organisation. It's like everyone's got their own one, haven't they? Pretty much.
WBO.
That's his.
Yeah.
But what else did he say in the interview? What did he say about Kell Brook? Did he say they quit?
He said he didn't quit, no.
He said he didn't quit. Was he furious with Brian again or anyone else?
No, he didn't name any names. He was a bit more restrained this time.
Yeah, that was a bad look for him. That's why.
Yeah. But
one thing we did talk about is that Eubank thing's going to be on pay-per-view again, isn't it?
Yeah, ITV box office most likely, which is a bad luck really. But it is better than the first fight that was on box office. So
it's better than the first fight. But
yeah.
this is on the Boxing Fan. It's it's our fault that we've got this. The people who paid up for the last one, because there was way more than anyone ever imagined who paid for that fight. So I mean, we fucked ourselves there, didn't we?
That is true. Naota, you want to mention anything about Hearn and IBF or Ndongo versus Crawford?
I mean, well, the way I see it is Ndongo Crawford should be for all the belts. I think Lipinets is kind of a non-factor. Fuck it. Lipinets should be fighting the winner of Barthélemy versus Relic to actually deserve that shot. And anybody from all the guys that Lipinets has been fighting, I'm not particularly impressed, to be honest with you. So he should fight the winner of their rematch, and then if he wins that fight, then he deserves to truly be a mandatory for that belt. Other than that, Indongo is clearly the second best fighter in the division. Crawford is clearly the number one fighter in the division, and they should meet up. And yeah, it should be for all the belts. It shouldn't be any BS. Like I remember years back, people really forgot about the fact that Timothy Bradley should have been a unified, pretty much undisputed champion at 140. The way he ran through everybody in the weight class. He ran through Nate Campbell and Kendall Holt and Devin Alexander and Lamont Peterson, who were all world titleists at the time, and as was Bradley and what's his name, the hitter, Witter, Junior Witter. He beat Witter, beat Holt, beat Alexander, beat Peterson. Last I checked, that was 4 champions. That was all 4 belts. And regardless of them stripping him after the fact, that's what it was. And I think
he was unified champion of that division.
I think that Crawford really deserves to actually get that opportunity rather than have the sanctioning bodies stand in the way of that.
And the madness of it is,
same for Ndongo.
The madness of it is, the likelihood is Crawford wins that fight, right?
Yeah.
And the next step, he ain't staying around, is he? So really, it's not like they're gonna feel like their belt's gonna get clogged up by mashed in with all the other belts.
That's true, because
for a long time.
It's just going to become vacant, isn't it?
So just let him fight, and then all the belts will dissipate again.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just they're being pig-headed. It's unbelievable, isn't it? We get suddenly we're in the opportunity where we get what we always want as fighters, and one of these. That's what I mean. That's why it doesn't really matter about the belts. We know that they're the 2 best guys.
No, it's a great point that you make. That I didn't think about that. But also, I don't know about you, but I do like it when someone becomes undisputed, man. It does hold something special.
It means it doesn't matter what doesn't matter what we say. It does mean something, and there is something special about those fights. We can try and deny it and be all hipstery about it, but we still love them, and you get to say it in history, and it's not fair on someone like Crawford or Ndongo, because it's not going to be on their Wikipedia page when they're fucking long in the ground, is it? Because of them taking away their little belt to give some guy who doesn't really deserve a shot an opportunity to fight for it. It's fucking nonsense.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, then there's a lack of doubt. Like when you're able to unify to the extent where you become undisputed, then at that point it's like, well, I'm clearly the best fighter in the division. There isn't anybody else that could really say differently. Or I mean, you could argue it, but at the same time, it becomes a much tougher argument to argue against that. At
if
that
you've
point,
got all the stuff,
proven beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And if they take it off him, if they take this belt away from this fight for this. It just proves that us and all the other podcasts and people who moan about this, we're right. You lot are fucking corrupt and fucking dodgy as fuck, and you're fucking with the sport that we love. And this will prove it to us that you don't give 2 fucking flying shits about the sport, really.
Yeah.
Like the history of the sport, the things that fucking mean something. I mean, this sport is getting kind of watered down so much over the years.
Well, and what does it say about your title if it's not around the waist of the best fighter in the division?
It's meaningless.
There you go.
Well said, Leo. Well said.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Shall we shit on this horrible summer brawl card in whatever the fuck it's called?
No, it doesn't. We don't need to talk about it until it comes up, and then we'll talk about it last.
It's terrible though. Like Leon, I'm just looking at the date. 1st of July. Today is the 5th of June, so it's less than a month away. Frank versus Ricky Summers, 13-0. But if you look at his record, it's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I saw someone tweeting that he just basically fought no fucker.
He's fought one guy winning record. So.
Oh, go away.
Matthew Ryan, don't know who he is. Ted Cheese, the big cheese, he's fighting. Joshua Buatsi, obviously, and the rest of them, including Joshua, are TBAs. Less than 4 weeks to the card. Like, this is something. This is like a next gen card, but they've renamed it. It's fucking terrible. But yeah, we'll move on. Last piece of news.
No, but I do quickly. I saw someone say on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. Like, O2 have they misspelled York Hall?
It is a York Hall card. Seriously,
it is. It reads a York Hall, and I have no problem with that. And that's my thing. Just put it on at the York Hall.
Even like it seems like Eddie doesn't like to use
beneath him.
No, he doesn't like to use the copper box, because I think this would be ideal in the copper box, because I think it is a bit too big for York Hall, I think, but it's too small for maybe Wembley Arena or the copper for the O2. So I think this one's type of copper box type of venue, but I think there must be a one thing where maybe he's going to get a contract or
Wembley Arena, right? That's northwest London. Enfield, where Buglioni's fans are from, that's North London. That's just nipping down the North Circular or down the M25, which I guess is quite difficult to do, nip down either of those roads. But that would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
The demographic, the Wembley Arena, make it a bit smaller. They put fucking O'Hara Davis on against some Italian guy that not many people have heard on at Wembley Arena, and they're not going to put a ticket seller within, like, maybe I'd say it's about 4 or 5 miles, Cam.
Right. No, I
from
remember in
where
the
they come
interview,
from. Makes perfect sense.
I remember the interview, and Overbro just saying in the chat that he already had O2 booked for Dillian White. I think that fight was supposed to happen last week or something, the one that got cancelled. So maybe
the whack fight.
Yeah, maybe if you've booked it, then you have to take the spot up at least in one date. Like, maybe you can rearrange it to another date, but it depends what their contract is. If he's booked a date, then the O2 have obviously set aside a date where they've cancelled other venues, other events. So maybe they just had to put something there.
But or does Eddie Hearn turn around and go, do you want any Joshua to ever fight in your venue again? Now fucking cancel the date.
Just bully him.
Yeah. Do what other promoters do. Don't put on a tiny little small hall show in one of the biggest sporting arenas in London.
Do you think they just do what Warren does sometimes at big venues and just half it and just have half the lower bowl or some shit?
Yeah.
All right, Naota, another thing that Mr. Hearn was talking about in his interview was trying to make Badou Jack versus Cleverly. Not a bad fight, I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent fight, I think. Good, that's a solid step up to the new weight class. Introducing, the former unified, or he should have been a unified super middleweight champion, against a guy that's, been kind of a fringe / title holder type fighter in Cleverly. And, I think it's a good fight. I definitely favor Jack. I think really highly of the guy. But Cleverly's no easy route. He's not any kind of walkover type of opponent. I think Jack Cleverly is a good fight. I favor Jack to win it, but I think we'll see some questions potentially answered in terms of how he's able to carry light heavyweight, how he does against maybe like a lower top 10 level opponent in Cleverly, and see what portends for his near future against maybe the higher rated guys as well.
Yeah, Leon, I would probably pick Jack over Cleverly as well, because he blocks punches with his face and he'll be eating right hands all night.
Yeah, but the one thing about him is, he's a tough fucker, and he fights at a ferocious pace. So it'll be interesting to see. I said, it's a good way to acclimatise your body to that division, because he's not a massive puncher, but he's going to bring it pressure all night. So you'll know what your gas tank's like. You're going to know what it feels like, because he's a big dude. He doesn't have a dig on him, but he's a strong guy. So Jack will know exactly what the division's about.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay, let's...
Bet it doesn't happen.
No, I think it might happen, actually. But
no, Cleverly will go, won't he? Because he doesn't give a fuck, does he, really?
Yeah, he went to Chicago for Fonfara as well, so...
Yeah, exactly.
You guys got any other news you want to talk about?
The only major thing, I guess, would be coming out of Japan, where I mentioned last week Takayama was going to try and go back to the amateur ranks to try and box in the 2020 Olympics, but it appears as though the Japanese Amateur Boxing Federation rejected his application because of the fact that they want to keep it like the split between amateur level and pro level complete. Like they don't want to do like the AIBA's kind of been doing the last few years of allowing professionals to box in AIBA amateur tournaments or whatever.
So they've crushed his dreams.
What was that?
They've crushed his dreams now.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, he's looking to still try and do it, but as of right now, it's like they're not open to it. And I can see what they're doing because especially in Japan, like they have boxing like in school, like in high school, middle school and stuff. So a lot of times, while they haven't necessarily generally been a force in Olympic games and stuff, because usually if you're a really good fighter coming out of there, like they just turn pro, once they're an adult. With the way I think a lot of other countries do it though is, even though a lot of these guys are amateurs, quote unquote, they're really pros. They're really professional fighters, that are basically state sponsored, that are fighting in amateur quote unquote tournaments. So, I mean, the way I look at it is, he could fight, and I don't really have a problem with it. And we even saw in this past Olympics that just because you're a pro level fighter going over the 12 rounds doesn't necessarily mean that you're just going to dominate some of these top level, once again, quote unquote amateurs over 3 rounds, guys that have been highly paid to fight in that distance and with that pace for years and years. So, I mean, I say let him do it.
Leon, Japan have like boxing at school. Imagine we had that shit. Like every playground would have like an all-out brawl every week if they did boxing at PE classes.
There used to be boxing at PE classes, didn't there?
I never had it.
Back in the day.
I'm not as old as you, though.
My folks. Yeah, like way back. I like it.
Yeah, it's good, man. Learn how to defend yourself. But you got any news, Leon?
They're a much more disciplined and kind of level-headed nation than us, though, aren't they, the Japanese?
That is true.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Next week, not many cards. The main one is, which has kind of gone under the radar a bit, and it's not a bad fight. Ryan Burnett, Lee Haskins in Belfast. It's Hearn card, and undercard is pretty poor. We were talking about Mike Perez on there. He was initially had a fight lined up, but his opponent pulled out basically, and undercard's pretty weak. But Haskins Burnett, Leon, who do you favour in this one?
It's tough to know, isn't it? Because what have we really seen of Burnett? He's looked quite good, hasn't he?
Yeah.
But who's he fought? And Haskins is a tough, durable guy who knows how to win fights. And he's got a weird ass style, hasn't he?
I hate his style.
Do you hate it?
Proper.
But it's awkward, isn't it?
It is, and he's often involved in head clashes, and he has that kind of wait, step back, catch you with the right hook, step out, but he kind of moves his upper body so much, man, that he's off balance quite often. And I actually favour Burnett. I think this will be a kind of coming into stepping up and coming of age fight for him. He does lack a bit of power, but he is still young, and every time I've seen him against all the guys he's fought, his punch variety's good, his movement's good, his I don't know, his reactions are decent. He kind of sees when his opponent's gonna try and counter, and he counters the counter. And yeah, I think this is really going to be a coming of age fight, and I'm picking him to win. But I think it'll be a tough fight, especially because Haskins is so awkward to fight, and he's always involved in fights where every round's close, so you can have a big swing where one judge is, giving it wide to him and the other judge is giving it wide to his opposition. So I don't know. I'm favouring Burnett, but it is a kind of 50-50 almost. And if you're a Haskins fan, you probably have to favour Haskins just because over the years he's fought better competition.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see someone crying robbery at the end of this fight, can't you? It's got that kind of vibe, like where Haskins loses, kind of in a close fight, but or gets kind of slightly jobbed on the cards. I can kind of feel that narrative coming,
Yeah, I think it would favour Hearn to have a champion, especially in Belfast. He's been trying to get that market down again for a couple of years. So, what do you think, Naoto?
It's a good fight. I'm not as familiar with Burnett. I know I've seen him before, but I can't quite put my finger on like the fights in like his style, like looking at it. But I do know, I mean, Haskins, like you said, he's really awkward, but he's not a particularly big or strong bantamweight. So I think that there is the potential that Burnett could kind of young man the older fighter in there, and even if he's not necessarily landing like especially clean punches on Haskins and such, he may be looking to land like the harder stuff that kind of catches the eyes of the judges a little bit more so. I mean, Haskins isn't a fighter that like you said, kind of really wins rounds clearly, for the most part. I mean, especially against, kind of bigger guys like even like Stuart Hall and such. So I think there's definitely the potential for Burnett to kind of, steal some rounds in there and get a decision. And if he wins it more conclusively than that, then props to him because, Haskins is still one of the higher level guys at bantamweight for what it's worth. So, if he's able to pull it off, then that's a damn solid one for him.
If I have to describe his style, I'd say he's a small version of George Groves. He has that kind of booth style to him.
Okay, yeah. I need to rewatch some fights, find some footage of him.
No problem.
He's just not as explosive, is he? Like as that young Groves.
Yeah. And actually, that might be good. I mean, especially if he has some of that quickness and that speed, because then even if he's not landing on Haskins super clean, I mean, if he's kind of voluming up on him and he's really flashy in there, I think he could probably nick a lot of those close rounds that there could potentially be.
Yeah, I think he'll nick it, Cam. If I had to make a pick.
No problem. All right, let's move on. Nelta, do you know much about this fight on? Is it Show Extreme, the new generation?
Which
Joel
fight is
Diaz Jr. versus Regis Prograrius. I know Box Nation have picked it up for some reason. They don't pick up Stevenson, but they pick up this fight. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It probably just has to do with the promoters involved and
They've got a freebie.
all that stuff. It's a Dabella card. Joel Diaz is a really good fighter. Prograis I know I've seen before too. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think Aaron Herrera. I think he knocked him out. So I mean, this is a good fight. Like this is kind of the typical like showbox, the new generation type of card where it's like two undefeated prospects. Both of them have good knockout ratios. I know Diaz has tended to be a bit more highly prized, I guess, than Prograis has been. I've heard more rumblings, I guess, from the underground from Diaz as opposed to Prograis. But Diaz is, he's fighting in his third weight now. He started as a 130 pounder. He's at 140. Maybe he's gotten his man strength under him. He's at 25 now. And Prograis, he's been a guy that's actually fought higher than 140. So this is like a guy that's kind of come up into the division as opposed to a guy that's kind of cut down into the division. Although I'd say like size wise they're not too dissimilar. I'd say Prograis is a little bit bigger, but not like excessively so. Not like he really truly belongs in another weight class or anything. But it's a good fight. Both of them are punchers, and I expect a good fight from both of them. This is could be one of these little known fights that actually turn out to be one of the better fights of the year between these two because I think they're pretty well matched against each other.
Well, Showtime do have a history.
These are the guys that I think if and when Crawford and Ndongo, when they unify the titles and one of them moves up or whatever, and the titles become fractured again, one of these two guys may be one of the guys to kind of pick up the pieces and put them back together in terms of being the top level guys at 140, along with potentially Garcia in the future if he continues the campaign there, and Kiro Relic and Bartholomew and so on and so forth. So these truly are like the new generation, probably at 140 for the next couple of years.
Yeah, Leon, set your Skybox now in case you forget. You need to watch in HD.
Yeah, I do. What day is that? That Saturday evening or Friday?
That's Friday night, Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll do that now.
What else we got? Friday in Bergen, Norway. I have to mention that because my wife's Norwegian. I have to represent. But Cecilia Breakhouse defends all the belts against Erica Annabelle Farias at welterweight. And what else do we have? Leon, you're going to have to use your spectacular South African accent because I've not heard it in a while. But Tobias Mchunu faces Johnny Muller in Gauteng, South Africa. Go on, say Tobias Mchunu in South Africa.
No, I'm not doing. I'm not walking down that path, Cam. It's not good enough.
All right, I'll let you off.
I need a bit of practice. I'll watch the fight and I'll give you a little bit of it next week.
Perfect.
But they're always difficult to find, though, aren't they?
Yeah, you find it
South
like
African.
6 months later on some weird stream somewhere.
Maybe on the Fire Stick. Maybe there's a South African channel on there.
Maybe. Naota, finally on the Sunday. Weird day for boxing usually. The return of your boy Brandon Rios fighting on the PBC card. I think he's a free agent, but they picked him up for this card.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess they're looking to see what he does, and if he does well enough, then they'll actually sign him, for some sort of extended contract. Honestly, he should wipe out this guy. This is the aforementioned Aaron Herrera, the guy that Prograis knocked out in a round, as I mentioned before. So, I mean, even though Prograis might be one of these guys that could be on the come up and becoming like a future star, still Brandon Rios is a guy that has been at that high level that Prograis is still trying to get to. So, all things being equal, he should be able to wipe out Herrera as well. I mean, if he doesn't, then I definitely think that's a bad look for Rios. I'm not sure what this fight is going to be fought at because Herrera's kind of fought wherever. I mean, he's fought at 142 and 151 and all kinds of shit. So I don't know if it's going to be at 147 or 149 or what weight exactly it's going to be at.
Listed at welterweight, so.
Okay, that's solid then. That's solid then. I'd imagine what the plans for Rios in the near future, maybe him versus the winner, like as long as he wins this fight, which I'm sure he will. He shouldn't lose it. Him versus the winner of Guerrero and Figueroa, I think would be pretty solid. I think it's almost like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm done with Rios, man. He's shot. What are you going to say, Leo?
I was going to say they're going to sign him up. If he wins the fight, they're going to sign him up. Then they're going to give him a set of keys and go and stand down there by the gate with Fonfara, and you can do your work down there at the lower level. You go and look after that gate, and we'll pay you some money.
Yeah.
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 Fight some other up-and-comers.
So why would he? It just seems like he doesn't need to do any more in the sport, man.
I think he's
been good for the sport, I don't think he's been a fun guy to watch. Like, we've all enjoyed having him around, but I don't know what's he getting out of it anymore. I mean, he's broadcast, but I mean.
Yeah, I think he ain't broadcasting anything. not with the way.
No, broke ass. Sorry, I mean, like if he broke, that's the only reason I could see him fighting.
I think that Pacquiao money got. I think that Pacquiao money got spent ages ago.
You think so?
Yeah, man.
No. Well, I mean, the thing is, for what it's worth, I think at the very least, his wife kind of keeps a level head with him.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought there's something like that,
because she's a little bit older than him. I forgot what her profession is, but she's like a professional woman and everything. So I think she kind of keeps him on an even keel. But I think with him, it's really just his entire life, throughout his entire life, has been boxing, and that's pretty much the only way he knows how to make money. Up. Yeah, and not only that, but I mean, it's if he does transition into some kind of day job at some point in life, I mean, he's still fairly young, and I'd imagine he figures, well, hey, I'm going to try and milk this for all it's worth, get as much money as I can, and secure my kid's future in as good of a way I can. And you can't necessarily completely hate on that.
No, not at all. Don't worry about it. Because the shame is he didn't jump over to PBC earlier when they were dishing out the money.
Yeah, that's true.
So it seems like a bit of a. I mean, if he fought a Guerrero or something, he'll get a good paycheck, won't he?
Yeah.
And that makes sense. That fight.
Fights like that are winnable for him too.
Yeah, I think that's a good fight actually. You're
right. That winner of that fight would be that's a good one. Who do you think wins that fight? It's a difficult one to call. I don't know what to do.
I favor Guerrero because I trust him. Figueroa is really undisciplined. Figueroa is really, really undisciplined. And just like in training, I'll never forget. Joel Diaz kicking him out of camp because he found fucking chocolate bars under the guy's bed. So I mean, Figueroa, as much as Robert Guerrero isn't a welterweight, Figueroa really isn't a welterweight. Really isn't a damn welterweight.
Yeah, he's pretty high. He is pretty high up there. But I don't know.
Jesus, he's getting caught the same things that Ruth catches me doing.
I was going to say,
You know what I mean?
I
I
relate
smoke
to
weed for a living.
I relate to Figueroa, man. I've probably got some chocolate bars underneath my bed at the moment as well. So he's my
I know
boy.
that pain.
But yeah, I'm done for the night. You guys got anything else?
All addictions. There's no addiction to laugh at, and chocolate. That's one of the worst.
It is indeed. You guys got anything else?
No, I'm tapped out.
Has anyone heard anything about William Smith 2? Nothing. Died a death again, is it?
Which fight?
I thought it had been said that Williams and Smith have been fighting again. Has it been given a date, or have I missed some information here?
No, I've not heard anything yet. But maybe they're just waiting on medical for the cuts to heal or something. But yeah, it's gone quiet.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, it looks like Paddy Barnes is actually dropping down to flyweight, fighting for the WBO European flyweight title.
Yeah, that card is one over in Ireland is terrible, man. That's another.
When is that?
That's another.
Well, I think that's good for him though. Because remember I said before, he doesn't belong at bantamweight at all.
Oh yeah,
that's.
No, I agree with that. I'm just saying it's another shitty Box Nation card. That one.
Yeah,
Leon,
he's at a proper weight class.
It's on the 17th of this month.
Is that one of those MGM cards?
Yeah, it's got John O'Carroll versus Jason Quigley, Craig Evans versus Stephen Orman, Paddy Barnes versus Silvio Lentu, Jamie Conlon versus TBA. That's not good, is it? In an 8-rounder as well. Fucking hell.
Oh yeah, because I like Jamie Conlon. He should be in good fights now, bigger fights.
I think they're just trying to get him out there.
They're waiting for Inoue to
fuck
be
off.
done.
Yeah. He's always in good fights though, isn't he? He's probably one of our more exciting fighters over here, Cam.
He is, but he's not going to have a long career, man, because you get hit too much, man.
No, yeah, he definitely does.
But anything else, Leon?
No, nothing else I can think of.
All right. Thank you to you and Naota for being on the show today. All the people in the chat and all the people that download the show week in, week out. We'll be back next week. Peace.
You just listened to the Boxing Coalition.
Dude, man, I love boxing. I fucking love boxing.
A big shout out to the Boxing Coalition.
You're a newbie.
No, I ain't new, man.
If my fucking next door neighbour became the #1 flyweight in the world, you know what I'd do? I'd fucking walk past the cunt.
Derek, how you doing, bro?
I was physically banging, blood.
I disagree.
First time I hear the show, man, it was fucking badass.
Vamos a Argentina, la concha de su madre.
I see the bomb in them.
I get home and she's like, what the fuck? Me and the kid are here. Why don't you get home and talk to us? I'm like, man, you guys don't know shit about boxing.
Kel, how does it feel to be the new IBF champion?
Feels great. Do we really dive into the black hole right off the jump?
I think he's hiding glass.
Just to play devil's advocate. You want 1 portion of crow or 2 portions of crow?
Give me 2 portions with a supersized fries and a large drink, please.
I can't stand him, what? I'm Scottish.
Cringe side?
But you won't rush Anthony fucking fat ass Joshua, would you? He's not fat.
How about you tell us what you weighed for your final thoughts?
My weight?
Thank you for listening to the Boxing Coalition. We are live every Monday, 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. UK time, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern.